Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kubeflow community meeting for the 26th and 27th of July 2022. We're going to talk about 1.5.1 release, which it has happened but needs some information. We're going to talk about 1.6.0 release, which is underway, specifically in the distribution testing phase, where we're waiting on a few things, but we'll talk about that. We've got some agenda items here. We may or may not talk about this Kubeflow summit that was raised last week, potentially, and we're logistically organizing. Obviously, there's some stuff on the optional testing infrastructure changes and the ECR migration, which are related. And then Josh wants to give some updates on the survey. And then I don't believe there's anything else from last week. We'll move through. Unless anyone's got anything, please feel free to suggest in the comments or the doc. Okay, so Josh, you were just mentioning about 1.5.1 and the fact that we're close.
Yeah, 1.5.1, obviously the code's been available for a while. Now we're updating both the website, so it shows that 1.5.1 is available, but as important is getting the blog post finished, which I believe we have a near final version, but there's approvals that are necessary. I believe this is probably from folks, maybe James Wu is an approver, but from the comment yesterday in the release team, I think there's a final commit that Kimonis made to hopefully articulate the certificate change that was made in the appropriate language. And at least from what we have look goods to me from several people, and we're looking for approvals to post, right? So we need an approve. We need, I think James Wu or someone from the Google side to approve this.
Just checking who can do it. One of these people can. Not the bottom one, the top one. So James, no idea who that is, and Thea. Who is that? Okay. Anyway, cool. So James, if you want to take a quick look through it, make sure you're happy with it. If you're in this call, is James in this call? No.
Yeah, I can let James Wu know about this.
Should you be an approver on this instead as well, or?
I don't have permission.
Well, we could make you an approver is what I'm saying though.
That's another question that we can follow up. Right now is let's get the blog post merged.
Of course, yeah, because we're just kind of dependent on effectively one active member because the other two aren't really involved. So it would be good if we had at least one other backup in case things go wrong. Awesome. So if you could do that or ask James to do that, that would be amazing. Sorry. Blog post. Awesome. So the website PR, what's blocking that? Doesn't look like a lot. Okay, I guess everyone who's got something.
Oh, the only thing that I had a question on there was we have the MPI and the universal training operator listed separately. And so from the training operator side, I don't care. That's exactly what we did in 1.5.0, but I thought all of it was consolidated and MPI operator was part of the universal training operator. I'm not sure that that's the case or not.
Yeah, so when I originally made these pages, when I went to the old ones, I kept the ones that were separate, but I think these two did remain separate, at least when I first did 1.4. So maybe they've been made the same now.
I thought that's what we did in at the end of 1.4. One of the updates was that there was a universal training operator and it did include MPI, but maybe
if it does, then that's perfect. It's easy. I mean, if we've done it for 1.5, we should either remove it for the 1.5.0 release, unless it just depends on if it's part of the release or not. I don't really mind. It's just, let's get this merged. It's not a very complicated PR.
Yeah, I would just like to get it finished. And I don't think it's that big of a deal, but just going forward in 1.6, I don't think it should be, they should have.
Oh, I can approve this. Do you want me to just approve it?
You might as well, right? Let's just get it.
then we can be super happy.
I don't see the MPI operator being installed in 1.5.
What did Jono's comment?
I think he said like if someone wants to install V2 version of the MPI operator, they can do so. But at least in the default installation, I don't see any MPI operator being installed separately.
Also, I don't believe this is correct. This link is not correct. See if I can catch it before it does it. There we go. Okay, I'll raise a request on that. Okay, cool. 1.6, like I'll comment on that. 1.6. So what is the current status? So we just talked about that before the meeting, but let's go through it now.
So RC0 has been available. There were some things that needed to be updated, especially in the notebooks. They have been updated or they're in the process of being updated, and there should be a RC1 that's available from what I heard this week. And there was discussion about, does this, if we have a little bit of a delay, does this still give enough time for the distributions to be able to do their testing? And at least the analysis from the release team was that they thought it did give enough time. But if there are people from the release team, I know Suraj is here and other from Google, if they don't believe they have enough time because they don't have the RC1 right now, then we should speak up and capture that in the notes.
So regarding Google Cloud, Apply, who is supposed to be the point of contact for Google Cloud distribution, he is sick right now. So just want to give community a heads up, but I think we will try our best to not delay the timeline.
Sounds great. What about from your side, Suraj? Do you feel?
Well, I think we have like some resources planned for the distribution testing to take place. Hopefully, if it like goes smooth, given that like there are some like breaking changes related to 1.22 Kubernetes and stuff. If everything goes smooth, I think we can like stick to the timeline. But if there are any issues, then yeah, the last time we tried to test it, I think it was the manifest testing was still in progress. I mean, there were few issues because of which we couldn't install on Kubernetes 1.22. So once the new RC is cut, we'll try again.
Yeah, Suraj. Hey, like I've actually been working on that on the AWS side, and like haven't been seeing any of those issues with like the RC0. So, and like all the tests that have been running so far have been good. So as long as the rest don't have any problems, then we should be fine to meet the deadline.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it looks like there was meant to be an RC cut 7 days ago. Did that happen?
Not yet.
Who's meant to be cutting it? Or I guess we need to wait on something, is what people are saying.
Yeah, there was an issue in the I think the notebooks, which we were waiting on. I think there were some updates that were expected to be posted after that, but I haven't seen any update.
Yeah, Kimonos yesterday said that he had clear path to fixing that, and was going to merge in the changes and fix and update the notebooks. Although he did say there were some GitHub action things that were still biting him, I think was his term. But I thought he felt fairly comfortable that he was going to get this taken care of this week.
Yeah, I think that was the last update this week. Let's see.
This looks like this was merged or something, but in any case, we should be getting close to that. So let's just ping Kimonos, or like, I think the release team had said that they're going to do it soon. So let's just follow that up, I guess. Cool. Okay, there's one other thing that is somewhat related to that, but I believe at least in RC1, the default manifest for notebooks, which includes all the core pieces of Kubeflow, like the notebook, this central dashboard and things, will be hosted on kind of a Docker Hub repo. We plan to make the default one a GitHub container registry repo, as they have no limits, pull limits or anything, and also it's on the actual Kubeflow one. So GitHub org, that is. So there's two things I'd love to ask, is that if someone could, who has admin on the GitHub org, associate those packages to the correct repo so that they show up under here. Right now, there's no packages showing up on the root repo. If we could do that. So the way you do that, I'll just show you for anyone who's able to do it. You go to the packages. Anything that starts with /kubeflow is the ones that we are, and the ones that start with training are the other ones, so don't use those ones. You click one of these. I can't do it, but you can click connect to repository, and then you click Kubeflow obviously and do it, but I can't do it because I'm not an admin. So yes, if I know it's a very, very tedious process because it's about 20 images, but if you could, that would be amazing, because then people will be able to see the images on the root.
By the way, I had a few questions on that, for which I have opened like a ticket with the GitHub support. I haven't received any response in the last 10 days. Like things like I didn't find any like, SLA or availability like SLA for the container registry on GitHub like documentation. I don't know if it's like publicly documented. There are you said there are no rate limits, but they also don't mention anything for unauthenticated container pools, right? So I don't know if they have any plans to add that, or yeah, it's just like missing from the documentation.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, that's obviously their prerogative.
Yeah,
I don't see it going away, and I see it becoming more of a standard anyway. So there's not much of a risk if we're pushing to multiple container registries. The worst that could happen is that we have to use both.
Yeah, that's true. And the last one is like with respect to the pricing, right? I think the page is a bit confusing, as you suggested in the issue. It says like the public repository packages are free, and then after the first paragraph, there is a note saying the period of free container image storage and bandwidth has been extended. So that means like there might be some storage and bandwidth like pricing coming up. Like
that's not for free. So to be clear, that's there. I know it's very confusing, but it is in the same. The reason I believe that it's not ever going to have a limit, or at least in the current plan, is because if you look at the wording for the GitHub Actions, it's the same wording, and I can tell you for a fact there are no limits on GitHub Actions for public. You see what I mean? So it's the exact same language they're using. And you know what I mean? There are other big projects using GHCR, like for example, Homebrew, right? Which store a lot of stuff there. So I imagine that
an attractive like option, given that like there are no like usage constraint. We just want to make sure that those will be true like going forward as well.
This still does not change the fact that we need to migrate the old one. So what was the status on that?
Yeah, I guess we can just read through the last.
Yeah, let's just start that. Let's just discuss that now, because you said that it's closed, but what's.
Yeah, so this issue can be closed for the communities like tracking purposes. We have migrated the account which hosted the images to the new GitHub, the new AWS organization that was created for the testing infrastructure, or I guess any infrastructure. I think we use the term because that was the primary purpose. So going forward, the credits allocated in the new AWS organization will be used to fund this, any images that are being pulled here. So yeah, I don't think like Yao needs to like deprecate it, or his credit card would be charged. I did keep this issue open because his credit card is still the default payment method. I mean, in addition to the credits, there is also a payment method that you can attach. And the default one was the credit card, which I'm not able to remove myself. So I've opened a case with the AWS support to help me with that. Since the AWS organizations offers consolidated billing, we don't no longer need that credit card to be on the account.
So you're working on that. That's good.
Yes, I opened the ticket with AWS support, waiting to hear back from them. So that we are set for this. At this point, right now, nobody except Ryan and I have access to this account, but we can give access to anyone who is interested in the community. Yeah.
These images to the new account, and we'll use the new credits.
Can you change AWS has migrated the account to the new organization? The first
Sure.
one. Yeah.
I'm removing existing credit card. And not AWS, I'm going to say Suraj.
Yeah, just put my name because that might be confusing. Yeah. Yeah, so I think we can stop tracking this in the community meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as those existing ones, we should also track adding an alias.
Yeah, sure. We can do that. The only thing is alias. There were two repositories under this, like two registries under this. One was for notebooks and one was for like training. So maybe going forward, we can keep like one of them. Maybe one of the working group can use this, and the other one can probably like create like a new one. So we can name it accordingly. So which can be tracked as part of like a separate I guess issue, so that like is not involved, right?
Yeah. So it's called, what was the, I'm just putting it here so we can keep track of it. What the heck is it called? It's called something weird, right? It's this. Yeah, because what we'll do, at least on the notebook side, is we can continue to push to all three. There are some issues with ECR that I would love to raise with the team at ECR to know what's going on there that do make it very, very difficult to actually use, because we can't, for example, automatically list which tags exist there.
Okay. Yeah, I think we discussed that in one of the meetings. Yeah.
But if we could replace it with the word Kubeflow, that'd be great.
Oh, should we use Kubeflow? Because then is it friendly enough for like the whole community? Because there might be like other repos, right? Does this signify, or does this,
what other repos?
Like, does this send a signal to the customer saying like all the Kubeflow related images are in this repository? Whereas only the notebooks, like only few of the components which the notebook working group manages are in this repository, right? So maybe we should think of a.
I mean, we could do it. I mean, we're going to have the same kind of concept on the GitHub Container Registry one, although I imagine that other groups will probably push their images there as well once we're more migrated onto the, GitHub Container Registry. Because I would love it if all of the images were visible on GitHub Container Registry, and so that people could easily mirror all of them for themselves. But
so
yeah, I mean, I don't mind what you used there, but what else would you use?
I would think about something on the lines of like Kubeflow notebooks working group, or.
But then there are things that are not from there in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think we need to just.
I think Kubeflow is fine. I don't see any serious problem except maybe legal, but I mean, that's fine. I mean, there's already Kubeflow notebooks there and it's an official part of Kubeflow. So,
okay.
I mean, I don't mind, but I mean, raise an issue if you want and we can discuss it as a community.
Sounds good. We can do that.
Okay, cool. So the other testing infrastructure removal. So let's talk about that while we're here. So what do you need from the rest of the community still? There's still a few things. Or this is not a tracking. What is this? Oh no, this for some. Oh yeah, there we go. Why is it being listed as a PR? Okay.
Yeah, I
So
think
what
remove the
current
old
status?
one and just like put the new one to track basically like the, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've got. So you need an email. Have you managed to retain it, get an email from everyone?
Yes, there is an update on this. We do have, we did create like email addresses for everyone. And the AWS organization now has accounts for each working group that they can use. So whenever they want to get started, please ping us and we will give you the credentials that you need to access the account.
Okay, cool. So has
Yeah,
anyone actually done it yet?
not yet, because this happened like just like I think the last few days. So this is the first community meeting that we are meeting after that.
So I guess the tasks are for each of the owners.
Yeah, each working group to basically like come up with like a proposal on how they want to like design. I think there have been some contributors who have nominated themselves to work with some of the working groups to develop this infrastructure as well. So I can try to like coordinate with them. And
Do we have a place we're coordinating that we can link to?
Yeah, so in the same issue, there is a Google Doc that I've linked.
So to be clear, what do you need from everyone to do here? Do you need people to propose what they're going to do before they do it, or do you want?
Yeah, if that would be like the preferred way, but if you want to directly jump into implementation, go ahead.
I mean, I want people to do sensible CI. Otherwise, people will make manual things and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I suggested like adding. So if you scroll down on that doc, there is like a placeholder for each of the working groups to list their requirements. I think if the working groups can at least start listing their requirements, either whenever the working group has bandwidth to pick this up, they can pick it up, or the contributors who have nominated themselves saying like, hey, we are interested in like helping you out, they can investigate and come up with a proposal. So if you see right now, there are like already 3 working groups have like people who are like willing to help. For I think one is for notebooks and manifest, and the other one is for training, I think. Yeah.
Because obviously, for a lot of these things, the main thing they're just going to need, like the first step, is going to be a Kubernetes cluster with access on GitHub Actions.
Let the people who are like working.
I mean, we're all going to need that, right? Presumably.
Yeah. Yeah. So the people who are like working on the infrastructure itself, let them come up with the design as to like how that will happen. I think for the working groups, the first step would be to establish the goal and requirements as to like what do you want to do with the infrastructure. So for example,
my question for you is, when you say people working on it, are you referring to Amazon or are you referring to other people?
So other people, if you go back to the issue, there are like 2 people who said they're interested in working. So the last 2 comments, yeah.
Of course, someone would need, presumably the notebook or whoever is owning the thing should actually be the admin on the org, but they can be given access, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That we can do. I think the next step, the org is already created, right? So now we want to think about like what do we want to test, and what kind of test do we want to run. So those things, if we can list out the requirements.
I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, the one thing that I can just say right now that at least I know the notebooks will need, and presumably Manifest and everyone else, will just be a way to repeatably and reliably connect to a Kubernetes cluster that has more resources from GitHub Actions. So you can submit a job, like that. To a test job. How that can be implemented is the question for you. That's what I'm saying. Clearly, that is going to be a thing that has to happen. What's the kind of thought process right now? Just to quickly overview to the community what you're thinking. Is it in this, or
So if you go to the KSR working group, like the section, they have listed, like, for example, they have like a set of requirements and goals. I think that's what I'm looking for the other working groups to come up with as well. If they can come up with like a link to the test they already have, or they are like want to like develop things like that. And I think I'll be looking for like contributors who can help me to drive this forward, since we now have like a platform for everybody to use it, right? I want this to be we want this to be like a shared collaboration where each individual working group can choose what technology they want to use and how they want to run their tests, so that it's easy for them to maintain and don't require dependency on other people, right? I think from my end, or from our end, I think the main contribution I would be looking at is to make sure your environment is secure, and nobody can hack into, and credentials don't get leaked and things like that. So
or we have to assume that that's going to happen, so we just need to make sure that the blast radius is low.
Is less, correct? Yes. So those kind of things I'll be like looking into when people come up with like proposals. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I have in my mind.
Why would they want to build it on Canico? Are they insane? Anyway, whatever. Okay, sure. They could just build it on an EC2 instance. Why bring yourself the pain of Canico? Okay, anyway. So also, I do have this question around, we want people to be able to use GitHub Container Registry from ECR, not ECR, from EKS as well. I mean, in our case, we'll want that, but presumably other people will want that as well.
Yeah, I think for this, like this one, what the maintainer is like trying to suggest is that for the test themselves, they need to like build the images on the same time, right? Like for the test to run. So
there is one issue with ECR that is very problematic when you're doing stuff like this, which is that complex builds. So ECR does not support a specific kind of caching, meaning you can't push untagged layers, I think it is. So what that means is if your build uses two different from statements, has two different from statements, you can't actually cache. You can't use that cache, like I forget what it's called, inline cache or something. No, not inline. I don't know the right word, but that means that builds take a lot longer if they're repeatedly, if you don't rebuild one of the from stages very regularly, they take a lot longer in ECR than on Docker Hub or on GitHub Container Registry. And it probably would still be worth considering, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think like that's like one good part about decentralizing the whole effort, right? That each working group can choose their own setup. So I think
of course they can do whatever they want. I'm not saying that. I'm just suggesting that they might
want to look into it. Yeah.
Yeah, they might want to look at anything other than ECR to actually host the images. I know that you're Amazon, but you should fix the issue with Amazon, with ECR. Anyway, that's a separate issue. Okay.
There are ways to like use a image cached in ECR like already while like building the image. So I think
you can do that, but you can't push complex caches. That's what I'm saying. So like if you can only do that for single from statement images.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So if you want to like say like what are the next steps, I think the next step that we are looking at is to come up with like the goals that you want to achieve from the infrastructure. Maybe you want to use it for some of your release infrastructure. Maybe you want to only do tests. Maybe you want to do some kind of like periodic tests once in a week performance, or some kind of soak testing. Depend what you want to do. So I think the goals is the next step, and the requirements. If you have links to your existing tests, you want to plug into the infrastructure, or you want to say that, hey, we want to like refactor our tests as that XYZ. Yeah, those are the things I'm looking for each working group to provide.
So once you've got that, what will you be doing with it?
Well, I think so. The design has someone has to like propose some design, right? So at least for the working groups where we have contributors who have like volunteered, I can work with them to get bring to the community like working group meetings and talk to each of the working groups. That can be a start. Or if the working groups have people who are likely to get started, then yeah, go ahead and do it.
So I guess the first step for everyone, if we're just summarizing, is to get access to your Amazon account as the working group leads. Seems important. So I guess that means reach out to Suraj, or are you going to reach out to each of these people with just manually, Suraj?
I think I'm going to wait for folks to like reach out, because I think people are busy with like various things. Especially
I'm happy to, yeah. So in the case of notebooks, I'm happy to, if you reach out to me, I'm happy to get that in there. But, and also obviously Kimonos. But for other ones, because then we'd love to just get it started and then we can just try and, because at the moment we are in the process of rewriting those tests, as you saw. So
You are okay.
it would be good to have access to the new account. Anyway, that's moving on. Anyone else got anything they want to raise from this part before we move on? So yep, 2 tasks for everyone is reach out to Suraj once you need the access to the account. And also before you do that or after, whatever, so that we can get support from Amazon to make your infrastructure, go to this doc and list out your goals about what you want to achieve. And then we'll hopefully help organize as a community, not just from Amazon, but from the whole community, a solution to those goals. Yep. That Suraj, you're happy with that?
Yep, sounds good.
Cool. Thank you so much for this work. By the way, you've been doing a lot of work and I'm very grateful.
Sure thing. Thanks. I hope I can contribute more with the infrastructure part as well.
Yeah, once we just have it, it's so useful and powerful to have.
Yep.
Cool. Kubeflow Summit. Josh, do you know anything about what's going on here? Have we got responses back from people who might be able to host?
I think there's supposed to be a deadline the end of the week, 29th, and then there's also a place to go and vote. So if folks haven't voted, then they should. But right now it looks like October is the date that people are wanting. You're moving around fast.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find this.
I don't know if I'm muted or not. Am I muted or just?
Yeah, you're good.
No,
You're good.
Okay, so we've had a couple companies reach out. I did a preliminary kind of cost estimate. We need about 60K. And I've got one company that said they'll do up to 20K if I can get 2 other companies to also pitch in 20K. So I'm working on that. But as Josh said, it looks like it's going to be an October date based on the responses from the community. And then I've had some other folks reach out. So if you're interested in volunteering and you want to help with it, somebody shoot me a note or answer the thread or whatever. And I'm going to start arranging planning calls next week, and we'll go from there.
So when you say October, you mean this 18th, 19th, 20th thing?
Yep.
Okay, let me just note that down. What is this doc for? Is this doc just a proposal, I guess?
That's just a high level kind of requirements, needs, that sort of stuff. And then also had a couple companies reach out, or a couple of distributions reach out to contact their people in the Bay Area that that run different facilities for larger companies to see if we can't get a facility donated. I'm also seeing if those who are already participating, in the community that I know have space at some of their facilities, if they would like to donate that as well. So that's why I put the requirements out. I mean, up to like 250 people, AB part of it, have catering facilities either on site or very closely within walking distance, and, a hotel close by. So, just we're trying to work it from that angle to see what we can get donated and then go from there.
So do you need more sponsors, or have you got enough already working through?
No, we still need more sponsors because the cost really comes in for like AV for streaming services and then, audiovisual stuff. And it comes in if we need to get like, food and beverage. So if we need to cover like coffee breaks and we need to cover like, afternoon breaks or, whatever, the costs really come in if we can, like if we have to cover all of that and the facilities cost. So having done lots of events in different places, about 60K should cover like a grassroots, kind of event.
Are we going to be streaming this live on like the Kubeflow YouTube channel or something?
We don't have all those details worked out, but it will be a hybrid event. So either we'll have some, providing we can get the audio visual support. We'll have some sessions that are streamed live and that kind of stuff. We'll record everything, and we'll also make it available after the event. So.
We could use Stream Deck, or what's that other one?
Twitch?
It really all depends on the facility. I'm hoping that whoever, I can get somebody to donate the facility and they have audiovisual capabilities as part of their on-site facility, and then we just plug into that.
Recently there was an Airflow conference. I can put you in contact with the people who organized that, which was global. It had like maybe 20, 30, I don't know, hundreds of, I don't know, lots of thousands and thousands of people attending online, but also in person. I can put you in contact with those people if you want to just ask them some questions.
That would be perfect. Yeah. I'll take all the help I can get.
Yeah, obviously they're a separate project, but they they just went through it. And I'm sure that someone over there would be helpful reference material for especially the AV side, because especially if the most people are going to be online, then that's kind of that has some complexity. Awesome. So what do you need from us? So you need a few more sponsors, or so I guess if you know you are a potential sponsor, reach out where on.
So either respond to the thread on Kubeflow Discuss, or reach out to me on Slack, AK Grainer, or you can shoot me an email at akgrainer@aricto.com or at gmail.com. So it's just, wherever anybody wants to reach out to me at.
Are you on a phone right now or something? Can you paste your email in here so we can paste it in the chat?
I just left the gym, so I'm on my phone, so I can't get to paste it into the chat. So if I think, Josh, you've got my email. If you could paste it in there, that would be great.
Sure.
If you do that, thank you so much. Okay, cool. Anything else? So we need sponsors in terms of money and venues, obviously.
Money, venues, and then anybody who wants to, I'm thinking, up to like 7 people on a speaker committee. We don't want to have more people on the committee than, submit talks. So we'll need some volunteers to help us, to help plan and to help, review, any talks that get submitted.
So how can people ask to be part of that?
They just got to email me. It's all in the email on Kubeflow Discuss.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say.
And I'll try to send a follow-up email probably tomorrow sometime.
This one. Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Yep.
I will probably, I don't know if I'll be there in October, so it depends on the day, I guess. So you'll think it's going to be in the Bay somewhere?
It all depends on who gives the facilities, right? So, it makes sense sort of to be in the Bay Area. But, I think we're all keeping an open mind, because at the end of the day, it all depends on, who gives the facilities, right? And so I tried to keep it to a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday pattern so people wouldn't have to give up their weekend. And I had some folks ask about why not have it with KubeCon and things like that. And we can't compete with, well, one, Kubeflow isn't a CNCF project. And 2, we can't compete with like AI Day and, that sort of stuff with either KubeCon or Open Source Summit, things like that. So, because we want it to be a 2.5-day event. And most of the people that would participate in the Kubeflow Summit are sponsoring like KubeCon and those events, and you can't be in 2 places at the same time. You can't be on the show floor and being part of a Kubeflow Summit. So that's why we're looking for a standalone, space. And when I overlaid all the events happening in September, October, November, industry and MLOps type events, and those were the dates that we didn't have other overlapping events.
Cool.
I don't know if this is the right platform, but are there any plans for Kubeflow to be part of CNCF? Like the testing infrastructure would have become like much easier if Kubeflow is already part of CNCF.
The question that has happened before. So people have attempted to do this before, but I think the better question is, what would it actually mean for Kubeflow to be part of the CNCF? What is Kubeflow and what would be being donated? Because right now Google owns the trademark and they're not willing, at least weren't willing when this last came up, to donate. But also, even in its current state, it's not clear what Kubeflow would donate.
Exactly. And I think, and what I am sort of going to propose later in the year after Kubeflow Summit is, because I've helped launch 3 other foundations, I think we need just a Kubeflow foundation. And I'm willing to write up the business plan and do all that and pitch it to Google. So I think it would be, I don't know, I could be wrong, and I'd love to hear what other people think, but you know, I don't necessarily know that it would be wise to be part of CNCF.
My thought process is that some of the components of Kubeflow can be part of whoever they want to be part of. That's my kind of thought process. Yep. And that there should be a separate project that probably isn't called Kubeflow, to be clear, that actually collates those projects and other ones into a platform that you can install on Kubernetes. That's kind of my thought process.
I'm right there with you.
But yeah, and I've even got some ideas for how to do that. Yes, but we will discuss them at a later date.
Yep. Yeah, I just think it should be after Kubeflow Summit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about allowing each project to be wherever it fits the best. You know, Kserve is, you know, part of the Linux Foundation or whatever they choose. Pipelines could maybe be its own thing if they want to, or maybe they could donate to someone or start their own foundation. Maybe that one might make sense. And then I think there is a foundation, or at least an open source project which is this group of people here who actually make the distributions and combine together all these pieces into a real working ML platform that's actually competitive with managed offerings, or make their own managed offerings with it. That is a project, but not like that's a thing. Whereas Kubeflow in its current state is multiple different things that happen to share the same name. Whereas I think we should be when we say we should donate or we should, you know, be governed by an extra group, we should probably have some official group. But the question I have, and I want the community to decide this, is what are we donating, or what are we creating? Like, that's, even if we say we should create a foundation, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Right. And I think that there's a lot of work that goes into that. I think, I don't know, I think it's a discussion for another time. I think we should start the discussion as part of Kubeflow Summit. That should be one of the things we talk about. But I also think that there's a lot more that goes into it than what you're talking about is just one element of it. Then, you know, there's a whole lot more that goes into starting something like that. So I think we should start the discussion at Kubeflow Summit.
Yep. There's also the fact that if we want to continue using the word Kubeflow in whatever we're making, Google does need to, I would say the community should expect that would be donated by Kubeflow, by Google, to whoever we decide as a community. I don't think it would be acceptable to have Google retain legal ownership of the trademark if we continued using it.
I just think it needs to be I think it needs to be a complementary effort with the community and Google, and somehow well thought out, that becomes a win-win for not only Google, not only the community, but also the distributions, because I think that the distributions have a bigger say in it than, because no open source project is ever successful without corporate adoption. And when you just think about every open source project out there that's become successful has become successful, you know, because of corporate adoption and what that means. And so I think the distros have to come together as well. So I just think there's a lot more to it than just, oh, let's go stand up our own foundation.
No, yeah, absolutely. But that's what I'm trying to, I think we should obviously move on, but and I'll let you have the last word. But what I'm saying, my thought process here is more that the distributions sit at that across the components layer, whereas the components are independent entities in some sense that sit at their own layer. So there's a project to collate things, which are distributions, which maybe is a foundation thing. And then there's also the pieces that are being collated, like pipelines, like notebooks, like Kserve, like even pieces which are not in the org right now. But those pieces should live in their own organizations or potentially under the same foundation if we agree. But I think you'd have to imagine that a foundation which is set up to distribute components from multiple different things is slightly different than a foundation which is set up to make Kubeflow pipelines as good as it can be, or notebooks as good as it can.
Yep, I agree. I agree. I've been part of two that were multiple components. So
There
yeah,
are
I
a
get
couple
it.
things that I need to probably review before we finish up. This is a great conversation, but
Yeah, let's move on. Yep.
Yep.
Josh, do you want to say what you're going to say?
Yeah, look, I'm being pressed by Anna to create a blog post in a week. So by August 1st, I need content in order to do that. Typically what we do is we have a slide deck that we ask the working groups to enter the features that they see coming in 1.6. That's this link right here that you are on, Matthew. So the request is working group leads, could you please take a look at that slide deck, enter in the features that you think should be highlighted in 1.6, as well as the breaking changes. This will help us. It takes a long time to get the blog post done, but as we know, we also need a slide deck, and the slide deck is easier to create than the blog post initially. So if you'll look at that, you'll see each of the working groups have a section, enter in your features. We've done this multiple times. Hopefully this is standard fare, standard process for most people. Any questions on that one?
What's the date you want people to have done it by?
I was hoping to get an initial draft from people by Friday. If that's not possible, that's fine. I initially reached out to people last week and started asking them to enter in that doc, in that slide deck.
Have we managed to get anything in yet, or?
We have acknowledgement back from the working group leads that they understand it's a request.
Cool. There's obviously a lot going on right now, so I think we should definitely be pushing for it, but I think it obviously it's not super pressing right now, but we need to be working on it, right?
Yep.
Cool.
All right, let's keep moving.
Docs update.
Yeah, we always get dinged on the docs, and I thought that Anna did a good job. What I would like to ask the community people, in each of the releases, I'm not sure we have a list of these are all the docs that need to be updated, but there's stuff in GitHub, there's stuff on the website, and there's the changelog, the README, as well as anything that's in the actual website about 1.6 that needs to be updated, features, whatever, from each of the working groups. So, and in addition, there's docs that need to be updated by the distribution. So if you look at this list, I think this is maybe the first time, if you scroll down a little bit, Matthew, that we actually have kind of a start of a list of a checklist of things that need to be updated. If people have other items that need to be updated that we should have on this list, it will make it easier for the next release manager to know, hey, I need to get these things done. Oh, one other request. If anyone knows how to create a changelog, the notebooks working group needs a changelog. And so I think all the other working groups have changelogs, but not the working group, the notebooks. So it would be nice if we could figure out how to do that for the notebooks working group, and they may need some help.
Well, it's really just a logistical effort, right? The notebooks working group controls about 12 different apps. So like each of those individually will need their own changelog. And I think that's the core of the problem.
Yeah, I don't know if we do some big lump, where it's not too good the first time, but for this one, but maybe we can continue to make it better as we go. But
I mean, the best time to start is now, right? I think, and I think I'll raise this with Kimono. So I think the best solution is just we just create a changelog file in each of the repos, each of the components repos, and just commit to updating that, or in the root of a repo. I don't really mind where it lives, but just somewhere where we can track the change logs for the various components.
All right, let's keep going because there's one more item here.
Yep. So is what is the tasks on this docs update that you need? Sorry.
Review what we have here. If you see something else that needs to be updated and should be on the list that we update every time, please add it. If there's something that's a one-off for this release, please add it. But really what we'd like to be able to do is eyes on, hey, does this look like the docs, whatever that means, but it looks like there's GitHub docs, there's website docs, there's distribution docs, it's probably other docs. If you see something, say something.
Try people like help contribute to the list of docs that need to be updated. Where will this be like cataloged? Not just obviously in this doc, I imagine. Or?
Well, right now, the best place for it is in the release team meeting notes. It could be here too. We'll get an erased condition, but eventually this is going to go into the release handbook.
Will go to release team handbook. Current list is doop, 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 doop. Cool. I just try and get an actual action on that, which is good.
All right, one last item.
Okay, cool. What's the update on the survey?
On the survey, if you look at the document that's posted there, Anna has done a tremendous amount of work. Maybe you could open it. Tremendous amount of work about correlating, prioritizing, identifying different responses from the user survey from users. So if you go to that document, you'll see that there's a complete listing by each of the working groups.
Where is it? Sorry, is it just at the top or?
If you go to the Kubeflow user survey update, and the working group lead should review this doc.
Yeah, I got that.
So if you click on that and open it,
yep,
you'll see that there's a lot of work. There's a lot of feedback from users. My request, our request, is that the working group leads please acknowledge that you've got this input, right? This is valuable input from the users. Like to request that you all try to read it. Be nice if you have a plan to address it. But one of the things of best practice that we've seen is some of the working groups have started to organize a meeting with the users to review their feedback. So I think it would make sense during one of the working group meetings, let's say in about 2 weeks for the pipelines or for KServe or whatever, whomever, is to, say that we're going to review the Kubeflow user survey results, and we want the users who have interested parties' comments to show up and talk about what they were saying. But if that could be scheduled and promoted, I think it would be very helpful. So that's my request.
Cool. And then suggestion would be so when you say organize a meeting, what would that look like?
So during one of the working group meetings, just say, we're going to discuss the comments that we got in the user survey. And if users want to come and discuss this with us live, back and forth. We'd like to hear what they had to say.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else?
Over time.
We are
Oh, go ahead,
looking.
Sarge.
If we are looking for like a specific feedback, is it possible to get in touch with the person, as you said, for addressing the feedback? We would like to like understand their perspective and have like more questions.
Of course, yes, that's definitely
Do
possible.
we know who made the feedback though?
We can correlate that. It does take a little bit of work, but there's a spreadsheet with everyone's answers. And if they put in their names, some are anonymous, but some people put in their names. Some say, don't contact me, whatever. I think most people have said that it's okay to contact them.
Okay. So, okay, Josh, I guess I'll reach out to you with respect to like one of the feedback.
Perfect. We love that. It's the feedback loop we need.
I also had like one more question if like we are done with the agenda.
Yep, sure.
What is our current like process or current like mechanism with respect to like security? Do we have anything? Or
What do you mean by security? Sorry.
so let's say like before doing the release, do we scan the images for any like vulnerabilities?
We don't have any central group doing that, no, or policies around that. Each working group might do that themselves, but they probably don't. If you suggest that we should do that, obviously the best thing would be to provide the resources to do that and get buy-in to do it.
Okay.
But
so yeah, okay, that's a good start. And then the next question I have is like, let's say if somebody like comes up with like a CVE, somebody discovers a CVE, is there a mechanism for them to report it rather than a public GitHub issue where everybody can see the
what we should do, I think the most logical thing to do would be to set up the security reporting section in our GitHub. So we need to set up a security policy, we need to probably set up an email to receive those notices.
Right. Okay.
And we can also use GitHub's new amazing feature to raise the security advisory. Once you're an admin on the repo, you can do this, and then GitHub will actually go and make the CVE for you, and you can track it in here as well.
Okay, so basically, okay, we don't have a mechanism defined, and
but also the problem is, again, a lot of the CVEs, the big thing that's problematic with Kubeflow, is similar to other things, is that it's not clear who is responsible for what. So like distribution, like where is the demarcation between a security vulnerability in a piece of Kubeflow versus the manifest of Kubeflow versus a distribution?
I think it starts like the ground up, right? The people who are like maintaining the containers, that starts from there.
Well, that just depends on the type of vulnerability, I guess.
True, but like, isn't the manifest also just a collection of the manifests which are already published as part of like each repository? So,
and I don't think they come with any security guarantees.
Yes,
of course, if it's an issue in the manifest, they could be addressed in that manifest, but some distributions will not be using the direct manifest, right? They'll be changing them slightly. So the vulnerability may or may not even exist there. So if we declare, there's an issue in Kubeflow 1.5.1, when we're saying that, we're probably referring to the manifests, or we could be referring to an issue in Kubeflow pipeline 0.8 point something, like there is a multiple, because there is nothing to say that a specific distribution, even like as much as we might declare that 1.6 is a specific set of versions, it might not actually be for a particular distribution, right?
For a distribution. Okay, yeah, that sounds
so that's where I think actually branding Kubeflow and the components of Kubeflow separately might actually be useful.
Okay.
Because right now we have this problem where the word Kubeflow both means the project, the community, the distributions, and some of the apps, like potentially pipelines and notebooks. Right? So it means so many things. Like, what is Kubeflow? This is a question that a lot of people ask. And it's either a project that collects those other projects and some of them, or it's one of the components, and it's not clear which.
Okay.
Or it's both.
And if have we had a case where in the past where we have like found a vulnerability and we fixed it?
So this is where what happened recently was Microsoft published a disclosure about the fact that they observed an incredible number of crypto mining problems on their managed Kubernetes service were running Kubeflow.
Okay.
That not that necessarily it was caused by Kubeflow, but that it was running Kubeflow. And that's partially because Kubeflow provides an easy method for people to input their own images with notebooks.
I see. Okay.
So they can start their own crypto miners on GPU servers, you know? So the problem becomes, because we're not super clear on where Kubeflow ends, we need to solve that problem. Anyway, I think let's close the meeting up. We can continue discussing after the meeting, but let's just close out the meeting. I'll stop the recording. Thanks for coming, everyone. Awesome.
Okay. Thanks.